Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, we welcome Black History Month by giving The Princess and the Frog another look in our feature segment, Take Two. As always, we cover the latest Disney news and close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gaze Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Patrick Big Daddy Kazuki.
Oh, I like it. Adam Powdered Sugar Hummel.
So sweet.
Delicious.
I am delicious. How are you doing, Patrick?
I am good. I'm hoping that I don't sound like a robot this week.
You sound fantastic so far.
So far, we'll see. We'll see what happens when we play it back. But last week we were having some tech issues, were we not?
We were having some tech issues. You know what, Patrick? That happens in life.
It sure does. It sure does. It happens in podcasting. It happens in just my emotional well-being. Tech issues happen.
If any of our Tweedles would like a refund for last week's episode, we're happy to provide one.
Absolutely. I know exactly where to send you, but I'm not going to say it here on the pod because that's filthy talk.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic, Patrick. We have entered a brand new month. It's February.
It is. Thank all of the gods that we have exited January and we are continuing on with the year.
Can you even handle it, though? A new month? We're already in February.
We are already in February. It feels like it's maybe 2026 now. I don't even know what year it is, what month it is, what day it is. Time has literally lost all meaning to me.
Well, I know one thing.
What's that?
I actually know two things, Patrick.
Two whole things.
First of all, this is the month of love.
It is the month of love. Valentine's Gay.
I already have my Valentine's box made that I'm going to take to elementary school so that the kids can... That's right. Give me their Valentines.
A little shoebox with a hole cut in the top of it?
Yeah, it's designed like a boombox from the 80s.
Perfect. Perfection. What's the second thing that you know?
Second, and most important, it is Black History Month, Patrick.
It is Black History Month. So much to celebrate, so much to elevate, so much to...
One more rhyming word.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. I don't have another word to rhyme with this.
Alleviate?
Okay.
You know what? I gave it a shot. May not work, but it rhymed.
It did. It did indeed rhyme. It may not have made sense, but it rhymed, and that's all that matters here on Gaze Do the D.
That's right. Black History Month, so important. And obviously, we need to celebrate the enormous contributions that the African-American community has made to our country's history, to world history. A month, obviously, is not enough to celebrate all of the accomplishments and all of the achievements. But it's nice that there is that recognition and a chance for us to call it out here on the podcast.
Absolutely. Let's not just celebrate Black history. Let's celebrate and elevate current Black voices as well.
Yes, all of it. Future Black voices.
There you go, babies.
So adorable and so important. You know, Patrick, I believe the children are our future.
You know what? I believe the same thing.
Thank you for backing me up on that. And so exciting that we're going to be able to celebrate some Black history when it comes to Disney in this very episode.
That's right. The very first ever Black princess, Tiana. We're going to be talking all about her and the fabulous movie Princess and the Frog later on.
I can't wait to talk about it, but first we have to get through a whole bunch of business.
Business. We have some feedback to talk about, Adam.
We do. If you'll recall in last week's episode, we celebrated patriotic Disney, and we had some feedback from some Tweedles. We're starting with Miles, who you can find on Instagram at Miley King. Miles says, I just remember when I was a kid, we basically had to rope drop American Adventure and Hall of Presidents before we could do anything else. I think it was my parents' way of not feeling guilty for taking us out of school. The lines were, not long, first thing, but yay learning.
I love it. Kudos to your parents. Listen, Disney doesn't have to be only about fun. It can also be about the Hall of Presidents.
That's right. Let's get that learning out of the way before we go to Space Mountain.
Exactly. Eat your vegetables first, and then you can have dessert.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Moving on, we have Parker writing into us from Instagram at ADV Parker. Parker says, I salute you boys on this episode. As a Canadian, attractions like Hall of Presidents and American Adventure have never been interesting to me. Maybe it's just because I'm not an American. That's not the only reason. It's just not interesting. But they just don't seem relevant to me, and I'd rather spend my time in the parks doing other things. Same, Parker. Same. However, I have seen Hall of Presidents back when Obama was president, and I'm happy to have had that experience. All that said, I'm a huge Hamil fan, I love that term, and would love to see Hamilton incorporated into the parks in some form. That's a great idea.
Just some groups walking around rapping in colonial gear.
I mean, let's just change the Hall of Presidents to a viewing of Hamilton.
Fast pass to that.
I love it. I love it. We have so many Canadian Tweedles.
We do. I don't know how we're attracting them, but it's becoming an issue.
It's becoming a delicious maple-flavored issue.
Hello, Canadians.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us from across that border. We know you have no interest in crossing it anymore.
No, we're in fact trying to get out into your country.
Let us in. We also received some feedback on last week's Quick D segment, Patrick. And if you'll recall, Patrick, and how could you not, because you came up with this question. You asked me what Disney characters would be on my cabinet if I became president of the United States.
I did. It was a real litmus test into your congressional knowledge.
I failed.
Miserably, but beautifully at the same time.
I mean, it was a real struggle, folks. You know who it was not a struggle for was our listener, Daniel, who you can find on Instagram at DancoDirect. Daniel sent us an extensive list, and his choices are spot on. So we got to run down this list. For Secretary of Education, Patrick, he chose Mary Poppins.
I mean, perfect choice. You might say practically perfect.
You would absolutely say that. Secretary of Defense, Li Shang. Secretary of Homeland Security, Judy Hopps. Secretary of Health, Baymax. Secretary of State, Queen Amidala. Secretary of Transportation, Lightning McQueen. Secretary of the Treasury, Scrooge McDuck. I mean, come on.
Perfection.
Secretary of the Interior, Pocahontas, of course. Secretary of Labor, Tiana. Secretary of Agriculture, Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Fix-It Felix. Director of National Intelligence, Roz. Secretary of Culture, and Daniel notes, we don't have one, but we should, absolutely. He nominates Edna Mode. And Daniel finishes up by saying, and of course, in case anyone was wondering, my vice president will obviously be Flynn Rider.
Well, that's a cabinet I want to climb into. You know what I mean?
Flynn's cabinet?
You got it. You got it.
Oh, there's no sexier euphemism. Flynn, I want to get up in your cabinet.
Open those cabinet doors.
Ooh, man, I need a minute.
I have one objection. I feel like Secretary of Defense should be Mulan, not Li Shang.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a female Secretary of Defense, and this is a perfect choice, Patrick.
It's time. It is about time. Time's up, Li Shang.
He didn't do anything wrong.
He didn't. All he did wrong was not be a fantastic woman like Mulan.
Yeah, and not have his shirt off in even more scenes in the movie.
That's true. That was a misstep on his part to put that shirt back on.
Whoopsie daisies, Li Shang.
Well, thank you for that, Daniel. That was a delicious, delicious list.
So tasty. And I really admire the thought you put into that. I'm hoping, Daniel, that you Googled those cabinet positions, because I was struggling. The struggle was real in last week's episode.
The struggle was very real. Something that is not a struggle, however, Adam, was the official trailer drop of Raya and the Last Dragon.
I want it now. I don't want to wait until March anymore. I want to see the movie now.
It keeps getting more and more incredible and more exciting the more they release.
I just want to comment on the vibrancy of it. I don't know if Disney just decided to dial up that saturation knob, but it looks gorgeous, and it looks so colorful and so bright and so, I don't know, like luminous, Patrick?
Great word, great word. It's as though they use the Instagram filters, contrast and vibrancy and saturation, exactly like you said. It's absolutely stunning.
And Disney, please just keep plussing that action. I love the amount of action it looks like we're going to be getting. And of course, it looks like we're going to be getting a very touching story as well.
As per usual. Well done, Disney. I'm so excited.
We have to wait just a little bit longer. We're coming in on the month mark, and you know where you'll be able to hear a spoiler-free review of Raya and the Last Dragon.
On 2020.
On 2020. And, Patrick, this is breaking news, on Gays Do the D.
Oh, are we watching it?
I thought we'd give it a shot.
Okay, good thinking. We're trying to change things up over here at Gaze to the D. We're going to put our finger on the pulse of Disney for a change.
That's right. We're making some changes. And hey, folks, Tweedles out there, if you want to pass along your thoughts regarding the official trailer for Raya and the Last Dragon, send them our way. You can reach out to us on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or send us your thoughts via email or voice memo at info@gazedothed.com.
And while you're at it, while you've got your fingers typing away, why not also use those fingers to send us some questions? Because in a couple of episodes, we're going to have Chris on. That's right. Chris is returning. Chris from Wishful Thinking. Fee-free Disney travel planner Chris is going to be here. And Patrick, tell the kids what we're going to be talking about.
Well, not only is he going to be here just one time, Adam, he's going to be here 2 times. That's right. We're having a double episode all about Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea.
I mean, get your passports ready.
Get your passports ready. You can't go there yet, but maybe soon. We're doing some wishful thinking of our own, you might say.
A very escapist couple of episodes for us where we're going to be traveling so far and living vicariously through Chris, who has visited the Tokyo Disneyland Resort and has plenty of firsthand knowledge to share with us.
I'm very, very excited about this. I've been to Japan before. I've not been to Tokyo Disneyland or Tokyo Disney Sea, so I'm very excited to learn all about it and hopefully plan a trip.
Oh, yes, we need to do that. I mean, this is a bucket list trip, right? For any Disney fan, Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, you've got to hit them. So Chris is going to be coming on our episodes dropping on February 15th and February 22nd. And we're not only going to be talking about the Disney parks in Tokyo, Chris also promised to pepper in some other kind of Tokyo destinations. So while you're there, maybe you want to, explore the gay scene a little bit. He promised to kind of drop some hints about some other things you might want to experience.
I love it. Chris is the best. So please send us your questions for Chris all about Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, gay Japan, I don't know, or anything Disney related. He has all the answers.
He will. Do you hear that, Chris? You better.
No press. No press,
Chris. That's very exciting. I can't wait to have him on, and I can't wait to learn all about the Tokyo Disney Resort.
Well, that's in the future, Adam, but we have some past to talk about. Of course, it's time for This Week in Disney History.
This is where we insert the sound effect of kids going, hooray!
Or falling asleep.
Or that. I mean, this is definitely like, kids, we're going to hit up Hall of Presidents and the American Adventure first before we go on to the fun stuff.
That's right. Miles knows exactly what we're talking about. So let's get started. 35 years ago, Adam, on February 3rd, 1986, the Graphics Group, a computer hardware business, split from the computer division of Lucasfilm and became an independent company known then as Pixar, Inc. And of course, just under a decade later, Pixar would create its first full-length film for Disney, Toy Story.
Can you imagine having the cojones, Patrick? I believe that's the word, right?
Sure, why not?
The cojones to split from Lucasfilm. A sure bet. Lucasfilm, come on, you're like, I'm set. But they're like, no, we want to go our own way and separate. I don't even know if it was that dramatic of a split, but in my mind, I'm creating the drama. There was some real infighting going on and blood was shed and they said, we're leaving.
Buckets of blood. What a real story of being bold. Pixar. You know what I mean? They have made some bold choices and it has worked out very well for them.
They have. I mean, go big or go home. I just came up with that phrase. Trademark Adam.
That's right. They are moving up, you might say.
Moving up and moving forward.
I like it. I like it. Well, moving on in Disney history, 49 years ago, on February 1st, 1972, Disney World rolled out its very first ticket price increase. Previously, a general admission one-day ticket to the park was $3.50. With the increase, a ticket would now cost an insulting $3.75, Adam. By 1981, a ticket would cost $9.50. $33 by 1991, $48 by 2001, $85 by 2011, and roughly $109 at minimum today.
I can remember going with my mom and dad. This was after, I believe, my freshman year of college, and walking up to that ticket booth and just having absolute sticker shock. I could not believe the price of a one-day ticket. It completely unfazed my dad. He must have done the research, but I was floored. And now looking back, it just seems quaint, Patrick.
I know. Of course, we have to adjust for inflation, obviously, but just thinking about $3.75 for a walk-up ticket to Disney World seems insane.
And a majority of the attractions remain unchanged. Let's be clear. So it's not like you're paying for an absolute update to the park. You're paying for the nostalgia, obviously. But as far as like the value of what you're getting, it's basically the same.
No change. No change has been made.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been some changes. But I mean, come on.
Come on. Indeed. Moving on, Adam. Last week, we learned all about Kay Kamen, who created a licensing and marketing plan for Disney merchandise in 1932. 91 years ago, on February 3rd, 1930, Roy Disney signed a deal with M. George Borgfeldt Company of New York to sell figurines of Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and many consider this to be the very beginning of Disney merchandising. Because the company was still so small at the time, they were unable to control quality of these figurines, and 2 years later, Kay Kamen would be hired to steer that ship of quality.
Quality control is so important.
So important. If you've seen pictures of those first figurines of Mickey and Minnie, boy, are they monsters.
The stuff of nightmares for children for so many generations.
Yes, worth millions of dollars now, but they are nightmarish, as our friend Amanda would say.
Absolutely nightmarish. I got to get my hands on one, or maybe just go as one for Halloween this year.
I feel like I already look like one, so not much costuming needed.
Not with that adorable little face.
Look at this little pumpkin face. It's a mess. It's a mess, Adam.
Absolutely not. I refuse to believe it.
Just a little oily and dry all at the same time.
Well, that's winter for you.
That's winter for you. And that was this week in Disney history for all of you out there.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And that means it's time for us to take a little stroll right on in to Disney news.
I like it. Let's just walk right in. Sit right down. Baby, let your hair hang long.
No, come on. No. Walt Disney World has unveiled several new experiences celebrating Black History Month and honoring Black heritage and culture through music, food, art, and more. As we previously mentioned, the Soul of Jazz, an American adventure, has opened at Epcot and will continue beyond the end of the month inside the American Adventure. Featuring Joe Gardner from Disney and Pixar's Soul, this new exhibit showcases historic artifacts of famous jazz musicians, inviting you on a musical tour of the United States to learn more about this colorful, inspiring, and constantly evolving genre of music. Celebrate Soulfully at Disney Springs brings together several new offerings, including jazz-inspired performances, new art displays, special food menus, and more. 4 new art displays inspired by Disney and Pixar's Soul showcase the work of emerging Black artists B. Harris, Bianca Pastel, Arrington Porter, and Corey Van Loo. Originally developed in collaboration with Disney and Pixar as part of a Hue Unlimited collection of wearable art, the work reflects each artist's interpretation of the film. Also at Disney Springs, 3 evenings per week, Motown Mondays, Jazz Thursdays, and Smooth Sundays, musicians will perform throughout the Springs. In addition, select dining locations will feature special menu items, including Amorette's Patisserie, offering treats inspired by Seoul, and Walt Disney Animation Studios' The Princess and the Frog. Also at Disney Springs, several retail locations will spotlight products from Black designers, artists, and visionaries. And finally, as part of their Movie Under the Stars program, select Disney resort hotels throughout the month of February will show films celebrating Black culture, such as The Princess and the Frog. These complimentary movie screenings are available to guests of Disney resort hotels, offering relaxing evening entertainment for the whole family. So there you have it, Patrick, kind of a lineup of new things coming to Walt Disney World to celebrate Black History Month.
I love it. I love it. As you said at the beginning of the episode, I wish this would just be all the time, not just in February.
I have a feeling that some of these things may stick around, like especially the art that they're going to be exhibiting in Disney Springs. There's no reason why that has to swap out, right?
That's right. That's right. Those 4 artists are absolutely amazing. We talked about them in a previous episode when that clothing line was released, and the art is beautiful. Be sure to check that out for sure.
So many beautiful colors.
Absolutely. I kind of want that as wall art. I'm glad they're doing that now and not just clothing.
Like a nice mural behind your bed?
On the ceiling, maybe, so when I wake up, I can just look at it.
Can you paint a mural over a mirror?
Gross. The Jungle Cruise at both Disney World and Disneyland is about to get more sensible. The attraction will be undergoing a major update that will enhance the story and, to quote Disney, reflect the diversity of the world around us, aka eliminate the racist bits and add better cultural representation. One of the biggest changes is that all of the scenes within the attraction will now be connected with the storyline of a jungle tour gone awry. Not only will there be a live performer on the boat, but an audio animatronic skipper will be placed throughout the attraction. Audio animatronic chimpanzees will also be added to the story and peppered in throughout the attraction. Disney hasn't released a lot of detail around all of the changes we can expect, but we do know that the changes will not be reflective of the upcoming Jungle Cruise movie. And as I said earlier, many of the changes will include better cultural representation throughout. A quote from Executive of Creative Development and Inclusion Strategies at Walt Disney Imagineering, Carmen Smith: "As Imagineers, it is our responsibility to ensure experiences we create and stories we share reflect the voices and perspectives of the world around us. With Jungle Cruise, we're bringing to life more of what people love, the humor and wit of our incredible skippers, while making needed updates." And to that, Adam, I say, hippo hooray.
Hippo hooray. This just makes sense, Patrick. In my opinion, and my opinion alone, I think expanding the story and making the things that we're witnessing a part of the story, not just animals or these kind of vignettes, but actually kind of having more of a through line of a story through the attraction is so smart.
Who knew that adding a story to an attraction would be groundbreaking?
Never been done before.
Never been done before. I'm also very excited to not see the, let's say, problematic cultural depictions disappear.
Yeah, they absolutely need to go. And in replacement, we get adorable chimps. I mean, come on.
Come on. I can't wait for this much needed, much anticipated change. Moving on, though, Adam, in other efforts to reduce racially problematic images and depictions within Disney, Disney Plus has decided to remove a number of films from children's Disney Plus profiles due to their problematic cultural depictions and/or racist stereotypes. The Aristocats, Dumbo, Peter Pan, and Swiss Family Robinson will now only be available on adult profiles, along with a content advisory warning. Disney issued statements about why they made the changes for each of the films. So buckle up, folks. In regards to the Aristocats, the cat is depicted as a racist caricature of East Asian peoples with exaggerated stereotypical traits such as slanted eyes and buck teeth. I mean, yeah, let's get rid of that, right?
That's some straight up Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's BS right there.
I was going to say that. Exactly. In regards to Dumbo, the Crows and musical number pay homage to racist minstrel shows where white performers with blackened faces and tattered clothing imitated and ridiculed enslaved Africans on southern plantations. The leader of the group in Dumbo is Jim Crow, which shares the name of laws that enforced racial segregation in southern United States. I mean, again, yeah, that's gotta go.
That's rough. You really can't back up that. I mean, if you back that up, I don't know. Who are you? Look in the mirror. Look in Patrick's mural painted mirror.
And that's just a drop in the bucket for Dumbo. When it comes to Peter Pan, I think we all know where this is going. The film portrays Native people in a stereotypical manner that reflects neither the diversity of Native people nor their authentic cultural traditions. It shows them speaking in unintelligible language and repeatedly refers to them as Redskins, a very offensive term.
Absolutely. Yeah. Although relatable for me because I often speak in unintelligible language.
It's true. It's true. We both edit this show and we know that's accurate.
We both know.
And finally, for the Swiss Family Robinson, the pirates who antagonize the Robinson family are portrayed as a stereotypical foreign menace. Many appear in yellowface or brownface and are costumed in an exaggerated and inaccurate manner with top-knot hairstyles, robes, and overdone facial makeup and jewelry, reinforcing their barbarism and otherness. They speak in an indecipherable language, once again, Adam, presenting a singular and racist representation of Asian and Middle Eastern people. Oh boy, that's problematic.
Some of those qualifications, though, that are applied to those characters from the Swiss Family Robinson can directly be applied to drag queens as well.
More appropriately in drag queens, though.
Yes, acceptably applied to drag queens.
Exactly. So these changes are in part of Disney's Stories Matter effort to acknowledge past missteps and pave the way for better and accurate representation in storytelling. What do you think, Adam? What do you think? Are they going too far? Are they going far enough?
No, I think kids need to see that. It's up to the parents to decide if they want to show the kids the movies or not. And then I hope if the kids have some kind of questions regarding what they're seeing, I hope that the parents would have a nice chat with their children and saying, well, we decided to show you this movie, but we wanted to have a conversation about what you're seeing and how it's inappropriate.
I like it. It's all about the conversation and acknowledging the missteps, as I said. I wish there was a way. I know they've done this to Breakfast at Tiffany's where they just sort of omit that whole section because it's not needed in the story. I wonder if they would ever do that for some of these movies.
It's tough, isn't it? Because there are so many artists who were tied to the movie who were not, I don't want to say forced, but were part of this project, and their artwork can be appreciated. And I don't want to censor the movies, but I think what Disney's doing here where, they're kind of tailoring what audiences can view it is very smart.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, if we can edit around our own episodes, we can maybe edit these movies, don't you think?
Oh, the offensive things we say, Patrick?
It would just be easy to do it for Disney.
5-minute episodes for us, too. Last week, Disney released some mask policy updates for those planning to visit Walt Disney World in the coming months. First up, tickets are now available for the post-refurbishment reopening of Disney's Blizzard Beach water park on March 7th, 2021. And for those of you thinking, I wish I had a Speedo for just the lower half of my face, you're in luck. Masks will be required in all areas outside of the water. A statement from Walt Disney World Resort, only slightly modified by me, only slightly, I promise. When Disney's Blizzard Beach water park reopens, it will operate in alignment with the health and safety protocols implemented throughout the Walt Disney World Resort, including reduced capacity, temperature screenings, physical distancing markings, and face coverings. Face coverings, which Blizzard Beach cast members will be referring to as chin banana hammocks or chinana hammocks, or, Patrick, mouth towels or mowels, will be required in designated areas for each guest age 2 and up, including but not limited to the park entrance and exit, retail areas, and food and beverage ordering areas. Face coverings will not be permitted while experiencing water slides or in the water. You may also remove your face covering while actively eating or drinking, but you should be stationary and maintain appropriate physical distancing. In addition, the resort noted that reservations would not be required for Blizzard Beach for the time being. Walt Disney World also updated their resort-wide mask policy to note face coverings are required for all guests ages 2 and up and cast members, including those who have received a COVID-19 vaccine. On top of that, the resort amended their policy to include guidelines regarding transparent face masks, which are necessary for those who are hard of hearing and may need to read lips. The resort stated, face coverings may have an integrated, transparent plastic panel to aid in viewing the wearer's mouth. These face coverings must be a fabric face covering featuring a solid plastic panel containing no openings that is attached to the fabric on all sides using tight knit stitching. They must also meet all face covering requirements outlined for regular face masks. Wowie, Patrick, that is very specific.
Very, very specific. And needed, though.
Absolutely needed. And if I may be so bold, Patrick, as to suggest double masking, we're there now, double masking, not only for the safety of your fellow guests, but also for a surprise late afternoon reveal, taking you from day to night, you know?
I like it. I like it. I take umbrage to the term mouth towels, though. I'm not on board.
Well, you can casually refer to them as mowels.
Even worse. Even worse.
You don't want to put a mowel up to the lower part of your face?
Listen, I put a lot of things on and in my mouth, and I don't want a mouth towel to be one of them. Well, Adam, I won't be the only one turning 30 years old this year. 2021 also marks the 30th anniversary of the Disney Vacation Club, also known as DVC, also known as something I'll never be able to afford.
Never, never, ever, ever.
I'm so glad you didn't stop me from telling people I'm turning 30 this year.
They know what they see when they look at you, you know?
Oh boy. Oh boy. As part of the celebration, DVC members will be treated to activities and benefits throughout the year. Members will be sent a link to a DVC-only streaming musical event called We Go On, hosted by Ryan March, featuring Keela Settle from The Greatest Showman, a cappella group The Voices of Liberty, and many, many more. Beginning on February 16th, members visiting the parks will have access to an interactive scavenger hunt throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. Completion of the scavenger hunt gets you an anniversary button in each of the 4 theme parks. Visit a DVC kiosk in each of the 4 parks along with your smartphone to get started. The DVC member lounge overlooking Epcot will also be open for the remainder of 2021 from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. There was talk of closing down or refurbishing this area, but it will be sticking around for the time being in case anyone wants to invite me along as their guest. Just putting that out there. And, of course, 30th anniversary merch will be available online at shopdisney.com/member marketplace. More benefits will pop up throughout the year, so be sure to keep an eye on your email for more 30th anniversary surprises.
I think you have every right to just subtly hint that you're willing to be a part of the DVC experience should people want to bring you along for that.
I'm not just hinting so much as demanding these days, Adam.
I applaud that. You know, I think subtlety does not have a place in 2021.
That's right. I don't want to say I deserve it, but I do want to say I should have it, you know?
You should have it.
Thank you.
For anyone who has dreamed of feeling their full Aurora fantasy and living in Sleeping Beauty Castle, it's your lucky day. A storybook residence located in Los Angeles' Hollywood Hills, designed by Roland E. Hill, the architect of Sleeping Beauty Castle, is for sale for a mere $2.49 million, Patrick.
Again, I don't want to say I deserve it, but I do want to say I should have it.
Can you imagine our brand new GDTD studio?
I can't imagine it, and I'm feeling the fantasy land.
Come on, patrons. The 1926 home features 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and is designed to look like a fairy tale cottage from the front and a full-on castle from the back. It's like a fairy tale mullet, Patrick.
Oh, dear.
According to the real estate listing, the property has been updated with modern amenities while staying true to its original character. As far as happily ever after amenities, I just said that. The home includes a gourmet kitchen, a formal dining room with a stained glass window, a grand 26-beam ceiling in the living room with a fireplace and arched glass double doors opening to a walkout deck with breathtaking views, a master bedroom with a stained glass window, and double French glass doors opening to a balcony directly over the heated pool, a 2-car or carriage garage, and a yard with 5 citrus trees and a fountain.
It's very specific.
Not 4, not 6. There's 5 citrus trees.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
To view the listing and purchase the home for us, don't make us beg anymore. It's humiliating.
No, we're not begging. We're demanding.
Visit Douglas Elliman Realty's site at Elliman, that's ELLIMAN.com/California, and contact Josh and Matt Altman, who, Patrick, are both very attractive and look almost identical. So they're probably brothers, but those LA gays, Patrick, they love to hook up with their doppelgangers. So that's where I'm at with that.
Oh, that's unsettling.
Are they brothers or are they lovers?
I'd seen that movie.
It was the sequel to Deliverance, yes?
Oh boy. Oh, how do we get out of this?
Patrick, as we mentioned at the top of this episode, it is Black History Month.
It is indeed.
And when it comes to Disney, we are very limited on Black history.
We are indeed.
Last year, we covered Disney legends who are African American. We had a great time talking about some really incredible individuals who have lended their talents to Disney. And aside from that, we've kind of hit our limit with the exception of exploring Walt Disney Animation Studios' The Princess and the Frog.
Let's be clear, there are a handful of Disney movies that do elevate Black voices, and you can find them on Disney+, but as you said, they are limited. There are not enough.
I mean, we could talk about Soul again.
Let's do it. Why not?
All right, so forget about The Princess and the Frog. We're going to talk about Soul today.
Here we go. Buckle up.
JK, no, we need to explore The Princess and the Frog. This is a movie that both Patrick and I really love. And before we get into any of this, I just want to say to all of those out there who are sensitive to this issue, there's spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert. That's right. This is a Take 2 episode, so we're assuming that everyone has already seen this movie.
If you have not, simply pause this episode, watch The Princess and the Frog, and we'll be here when you get back.
That's right. We're not going to go through the entire movie scene by scene, but more so our reactions around seeing it for the second time.
That's right. Also, Tiana and Naveen end up together at the end.
Uh-oh. Spoilt it.
Yeah, I hope those people paused it before I said that, because yikes.
And I should clarify, we're not seeing it for the second time. At least I'm not. I'm seeing it for the 1,000,000th time, I think. I love this movie.
I also am not seeing it for the second time. I'm probably seeing it, though, for maybe the 3rd or 4th time.
Okay, not the 1,000,000th, though, so not as big of a fan.
Not as big of a fan, I guess, or maybe just not as cuckoo banana pants.
Fair. That's a fair statement.
Thank you so much. So, Patrick, as with any other Take Two, we're going to talk about some of the facts regarding the movie. We're going to talk about some of the production history. We're going to talk about the creative team behind the film. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the incredible cast who worked on this movie, all while sharing our thoughts and opinions. And our thoughts and opinions should be regarded as probably the most important that anyone has ever given.
Gospel truth, you might say.
Gospel truth. Dig a little deeper. Yes, indeed. Here we go. Patrick, would you like to start us off with giving us some facts behind the movie?
Sure, why not? Here are some stats around The Princess and the Frog. It was released on December 11th, 2009, with a budget of $105 million, which was pretty huge for that time. The opening weekend gross in the United States was $786,000, so it didn't do super well right away. The worldwide gross, however, to date is $267 million. It definitely did better overseas than it did here in the US for some reason. The current gross profits in the US alone is $104 million.
That's so strange to have a truly American fairy tale, one of the very few that have ever been produced on film, to do better overseas. How dare us?
How very dare us. Is it very strange, though? I mean, let's look at the last year here in the United States.
Oh, let's not. Let's just focus on this movie.
I love it. I love it. We should also note this movie was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, Adam. 2 for Original Song, Almost There and Down in New Orleans. It lost to The Weary Kind from Crazy Heart. It was also nominated for Best Animated Feature, and it lost to Up from Disney Pixar.
That's some stiff competition there, Up.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Up is an amazing film. But I don't know. I feel like that was a hard toss-up for me between those 2 movies.
Yeah, and when you look at them aesthetically, could not be more different.
Could not be more different. And then moving on to ratings, it currently has an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes.
All from your 1 million viewings. Well, let's head on into the story kind of behind the pre-production of this film, because it is an interesting story. So Disney had announced that when 2004's Home on the Range came out, that would be their last traditionally or kind of 2D animated film. Have you ever seen Home on the Range, Patrick?
I have. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
I've never seen it. So do you get the sense from it where you were like, maybe they should take a break?
I don't know if I got that sense, but I can totally understand the sentiment.
So regardless of making that statement, after the company's acquisition of Pixar in 2006, Ed Catmull and John Lasseter became the new president and chief creative officer of Disney Animation Studios. We're going to be talking a little bit about John Lasseter. Sorry, we all know what happened there, but he reversed this decision about not creating any more traditionally animated films, and he reinstated hand-drawn animation to the studio. And it makes sense, right, Patrick? Because it was Disney's signature on film, right? These kind of classically, traditionally animated films that were so beautiful that a lot of us grew up with.
For sure. And I think it served this film very well. It lends a certain kind of beauty to the backgrounds that are happening in this movie. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And regardless of whether you're a fan or not of this movie, how could you not be? But if you're not a fan, you have to give it up for, this isn't going to be the technically correct term, but the fluidity, the smoothness of this animation is some of the best traditionally drawn animation I have ever seen.
Yeah, there's something very poetic about the way it was drawn, something romantic.
Yeah, they grabbed all of the best animators they had at the studio and said, we're all going to be working on this one film. And it was so important to get it right because it was a princess movie, something that Disney does so well, with a twist.
With a twist, indeed.
So John Lasseter decided to bring back directors Ron Clements and John Musker and let them choose the style of animation, again, traditional or CGI, as we see in the Pixar films, that they wanted to use. And those 2 gentlemen who had directed some of Disney's Renaissance films opted for more traditional or 2D animation. And they originally announced the film as The Frog Princess in July of 2006. And that announcement was immediately met with controversy from a number of media outlets and critics, primarily Black media outlets and critics. And in response to those criticisms, the film's title was then changed in May 2007 from The Frog Princess to The Princess and the Frog. On top of that, there were some issues with the story elements. For instance, Tiana's original name was Maddie, which a lot of critics felt sounded too much like Mammy, and so her name was changed to Tiana. Additionally, Tiana's original occupation was chambermaid, and they changed that to waitress. On top of all of this, Patrick, Oprah, who we're going to be talking about a little bit later, was hired as a technical consultant for the film, and that led her to taking a voice acting role in the film as Tiana's mother, Eudora. So that, Patrick, is a very kind of small look at some of the controversy that came up when the film was initially announced.
Yeah, it started as a bit of a problematic view or viewpoint, I guess. And thank goodness there were some people in the room who said, would we call it The Frog Princess? That's a little problematic. Should she be a maid? That's a little problematic. And they made some much needed changes. I will say there are still some problems within the movie for me a little bit, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But thankfully, they corrected that ship.
Absolutely. It seems like they were originally going for like a historical look, which may have been accurate, but also inappropriate. Does that make sense? Like, you know, her occupation may have been a chambermaid, but that wasn't going to cut it for family audiences, and particularly not for little girls and little boys who will be watching this film and looking up to Tiana. We want her to be a strong, driving character as opposed to someone who's more of a victim of circumstance.
Exactly. They turned it into more of an aspirational and inspirational story, the way any princess story ought to be.
Yes, ma'am. So with that, Patrick, let's talk about these directors. Let's talk about the team behind this film, the creative team. So many brilliant artists working on this film. Take it away.
Let's do just that. Well, as you already mentioned, Adam, we have two directors, Ron Clements and John Musker, who are basically directing partners for Disney. Kind of what one does, the other one does as well. They directed films such as The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet, Moana, and The Little Mermaid Live, Adam.
They did direct that. Patrick, I have a fun side fact for you.
Please tell me.
I absolutely will. I was actually in a musical with John Musker's sister when I lived in Chicago.
Was the musical called John Musker's Sister?
It should have been. It probably would have been a stronger production.
What was the show? I'm curious.
It was an original holiday musical that was put together at this resort that they did every year. But her name was Pat Musker. I doubt she listens to this, but she was an absolute delight. And when she told me who her brother was, I nearly passed out.
I would have as well. Hi, Pat Musker. I'm sure you're listening. Ron Clements and John Musker are also writers as well. They both co-wrote Moana, Treasure Planet, Hercules the TV series, Hercules the movie, Aladdin the TV series, The Little Mermaid TV series, Aladdin and The Little Mermaid movies, The Great Mouse Detective, and The Black Cauldron.
That's right. And they served as writers on this film as well, along with some additional people brought in for the story. And then for the screenplay, they brought on Rob Edwards, who wrote the screenplay for Treasure Planet and a number of television series in the 80s and 90s, including In Living Color.
True story.
So talented. And Rob really was selling the idea of this being a princess movie for people who don't like princess movies. He wanted more of an adventure to bring in, you know, the boys who may not be interested in this kind of story or the girls who may not have time for it. He wanted it to be a more well-rounded story for the whole family.
That's right. And you kind of see that tradition continuing on with modern princess stories today. I'm thinking Rapunzel in Tangled, right?
Yeah, you got to have that adventure element. You got to have something else there to keep the multi-dimensions sparkling. That made no sense, but we're going to keep it.
I love it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, we have some beautiful music in this movie as well. We have music and lyrics by Randy Newman.
That's right. He composed, arranged, and conducted the music for the film, all of the music with the exception of one song that's featured in the film. And he was kind of like the perfect person to compose the music for the film because he actually grew up spending his summers in New Orleans.
Ooh, I like the way you say that.
Just really terrible, but I gave it a shot.
You did give it a shot. Now, traditionally, many of our Tweedles know Randy Newman from composing the music for Pixar movies, right? All of the Toy Story movies, A Bug's Life, Monsters, Inc., Cars 3, Monsters University, etc. And of course, he is the winner of roughly 8,000 Academy Awards. Is that right?
8,000, yeah.
Normally, I would say, Adam, that for this kind of a movie, I wish that they had gone for an artist of color, right, to produce this music because we are highlighting Black voices. But I will say that Randy Newman did an excellent, excellent job on this music.
He really did. And we should start off by saying that so many of the artists behind the music, like the musicians that they brought in, are people of color. But Randy is an old white dude, as we all know.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
I will say just personally, like his music is fine for me. And the way he's been used in other Pixar films and Disney films, it's not like the music advanced the story that much. It was more just like his voice or, you know, like a musical moment that was brought in to show like a montage, for example, but this is the instance where really all of his musical talents are on full display to perfection, and it really flavors the movie with these wonderful musical numbers.
Right. And I suppose it didn't hurt that he had these amazing performers behind him singing these songs. It sort of makes him up his game a little bit, I imagine.
What a gift to be given those performers. Yeah. So the music features a mixture of jazz, zydeco, blues, gospel styles. It all sounds wonderful. And as Patrick mentioned, the result was 2 Academy Award nominations.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
So, Patrick, before we get into the amazing cast, let's just talk a little bit about the look of the film, because this is, as I said before, is kind of like the pinnacle of traditional animation as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. In fact, I believe the directors wanted this film to be sort of a mix visually between Lady and the Tramp and Bambi. And it really reflects that, I think.
Those New Orleans, I tried it again, scenes are so Lady and the Tramp for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's beautiful. There's sort of a romantic city behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was watching some interviews, and the animators said that they wanted to be true to New Orleans, but also kind of romanticized, dreamlike version of New Orleans. They didn't want to be so detailed. You know, they didn't want to like call out specific buildings, although they certainly do that. But they wanted it to be kind of more of like a dreamy, kind of idyllic version of New Orleans.
Right. In fact, when it pans into the city, I was reminded of the inspiration. I imagine they took inspiration from this movie into the live action version of Lady and the Tramp, because when they pan into the city there, it's almost identical.
And you got to remember that, you know, again, this is a fairy tale. So New Orleans represents our kingdom, right? So this is the fantasy part of it right here, as well as then the bayou, or, you know, the swamp, which, as Patrick mentioned, was inspired by the backgrounds from Bambi.
So beautiful, so lush, so green. The colors they use, it's absolutely stunning.
And again, the artists were creating the idea or the feeling of a swamp as opposed to kind of literally creating a swamp.
True story. I want to touch on a little bit the animation that changes a little bit when they get into the song Almost There, which is inspired by an artist named Aaron Douglas, who was a prolific painter during the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s. So it fits very well into this movie. If you haven't seen his paintings before, look him up right now. They are absolutely, I don't even know how to describe them. They're so moving. They're haunting. They're beautiful. And the inspiration for that scene in this movie is almost identical to his paintings.
Yeah, very Art Deco, very streamlined, almost like, and I believe the animators used this method to at least get the rough idea down, almost like cut out pieces of paper that are put together to create a kind of moving image, as opposed to it being done through, say, a computer or being drawn.
Right. And then the background colors that they use, those deep purples and oranges and reds, are so beautiful, and they really make the caricatures, you kind of want to call them, pop out a little bit more.
And we've seen this implemented before in Disney films too, not to this extent or to this quality or to this design, I would say, but think about I Just Can't Wait to Be King from The Lion King, where things become a little bit more heightened during the musical number, and I would even say like shapes become simpler and more colorful. It's just a way of kind of interpreting a song within an animated musical.
For sure. And it really highlights sort of the dreamscape of it all.
Absolutely. Like the idyllic, dreamy 20s Art Deco. I want to be there. I want to live there right now.
Right now. And boy, do I love that song, Almost There. It is such a good song.
Do we want to talk about the songs right now, or do you want to save them for later?
Why ever not, Adam? Why ever not?
You just want to get right into the songs before we talk about the cast?
Yes, let's have dessert first.
Okay. So you already mentioned Almost There, which is an incredible song. You know, that last note she sings that goes on for about 15 minutes is so perfect.
I mean, is there a better, maybe Moana, not better, but right up there in a gifted voice? Tiana's voice is so good. You want more songs from her.
Yeah, voiced by Anika Noni Rose, we should say. Both did the singing for Tiana and the speaking voice as well.
That's right. In fact, this is one of the few Disney movies in which all of the actors are doing their own singing, and I love that. I love when they can do that.
It really pays off and creates such a great through line. There's no like, something's different when they switch into a song kind of moment.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so almost there. We've got Down in New Orleans, which is kind of like the prologue, epilogue song. It gets us into the world of the movie.
It's one of those songs I want to listen to every morning. You know what I mean? With a cup of coffee and just get my day started.
Cup of coffee and a couple beignets, and you put a little booze in your coffee, and then suddenly you're eating red beans and rice.
You described my perfect day.
You're pulling down your Mardi Gras beads from your wall and putting them on.
Just those.
It's really more of a Mardi Gras bead thong for you, right?
Yep, it's a thong gone wrong.
So we have that, which is performed by Dr. John in the movie, although Anika Noni Rose does perform the epilogue version of it as well. And then we mentioned Almost There. We have Friends on the Other Side, performed by the incredible Keith David.
Incredible. I love that man.
Ooh, that voice. I wish I had that voice. Can you imagine if one day we started recording the podcast and I just came on with a Keith David voice instead of my own kind of whiny, oatmeal, bland, pasty voice?
Well, now you've described my perfect day. A different voice from Adam.
We also have When We're Human, which is performed by Michael Leon Woolley, who performs Lewis's voice, Bruno Campos, who voices Naveen, and then again Anika Noni Rose, and featuring Terrence Blanchard on trumpet.
I really love this type of song in a Disney movie. It's sort of the I Want song, but from all of the main characters. It really works well in this film.
Yeah, and as I was watching it this time around, Patrick, I was like, this is very Wizard of Oz. It fills the place of like, we're off to see the wizard, kind of. They're off to see Mama Odie, and they're going out on their adventure, and they're all teamed up together.
Ooh, I like that connection. We also see this style of a song in Tangled as well. Sort of all the main characters get the I Want song at the same time.
Next up, Gonna Take You There, performed by the incredible Jim Cummings, who we'll talk about in a bit, and featuring Terrence Simeon on the accordion.
I need more accordion in my life, I feel like, because of this song.
You want to live your Zydeco fantasy, feel that kind of rollicking, good time, bayou moment.
My body in COVID times has been shaped like an accordion as well. Very foldy, you know what I mean?
Interesting. You may want to consult a doctor about that.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine.
Patrick's fine. We're all going to accept that. I mean, Jim Cummings as Raymond, as we'll talk about. I mean, what a performance again. And just his vocal performance, not only in Gonna Take You There, but also Ma Belle Evangeline.
So good. So beautiful.
And Ma Belle Evangeline also features Terrence Blanchard on trumpet. Again, these incredible musicians, many of them from New Orleans, were brought on for this project so they could really get that New Orleans Southern flavor behind the music.
It works. It works so well. It kind of just takes you down to New Orleans. You know what I mean?
It promises and it delivers. And then last but not least, the incredible gospel number, Dig a Little Deeper, performed by, bow down, everybody, Jennifer Lewis. And it also features the Pinnacle Gospel Choir. And again, then Anika Noni Rose comes in at the end to be like, let me show you how it's done.
Oh, so good. So good. Dig a Little Deeper is featured in most of the Run Disney races. It's such a clever song to put in there. And then Almost There, they always plug in at the end of the race, which is really fun.
Needed, don't you? Like the runners are like, I truly need this kind of messaging at this very moment.
Yes, Anika Noni Rose telling me that I'm almost there is the best thing you can hear.
As your feet bleed in your shoes.
Ooh, I think you're running wrong. Adam.
Yeah. I am running wrong. That's why I don't do it.
Fair enough.
All right, Patrick, let's talk about the cast, some of which we've already mentioned, but they deserve more from us.
We need more from them as well. We have a few Disney legends within the cast and so many people who are not Disney legends, which is a mistake on Disney's part.
And we know there's a real shortage of diversity on the Disney Legends list. And these people deliver legendary performances in this animated film. So Disney, let's get on that, please.
Yeah, I think we just need a blanket Disney Legend award to the entire vocal cast of this movie.
And then they get up and perform at the ceremony.
I would die. I would literally die.
We want you to live, but we get what you mean.
Fair enough. So let's just start out at the top, Adam, with Princess Tiana, Anika Noni frickin' Rose.
The frickin' is a hyphenate. It's frickin' hyphen Rose.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct. We have covered her ad nauseum in our Disney Legends episode a while back, but it bears repeating. She is a true queen. She won the Black Reel Award for Best Voice Performance for The Princess and the Frog, and she has a Tony for Best Featured Actress in a Musical for Caroline or Change. She's, of course, as I mentioned, a Disney legend. She was recently in Jingle Jangle. Watch that movie if you haven't already. She was in the TV series Vixen, the 2016 miniseries Roots, Bates Motel, The Good Wife, Private Practice, For Colored Girls, the #1 ladies detective agency. If you haven't watched that show, watch it now. The Starter Wife, and of course, she played Laurel Robinson in Dreamgirls.
We're your dream girls, boys.
Oh boy, that was upsetting. But she was not upsetting in that movie. She was my favorite part of that movie, I think.
I love Anika Noni Rose, and she brings a real grit and determination, and at the same time, innocence to Tiana. I mean, Tiana, Patrick, all work and no play. Can we just say that?
All work, no play, at least at the start of the movie.
She's got to learn. She's got to learn to have some fun.
She does have to learn. Fun fact, Adam, Beyonce was originally considered for this role, but she refused to audition for it, so she lost the role.
Are any of us surprised by the fact that she refused to audition?
Not surprised. I mean, that was a true queen move, but we got a great voice instead in Anika Noni Rose. She was outstanding in this film.
Other actresses that were considered were, of course, Jennifer Hudson. So the whole Dreamgirls cast was considered.
I love it. I love it.
Also, Alicia Keys reached out to the directors and said, hey, I want to be considered for this role. And for some reason, the directors also decided to consider Tyra Banks.
Yeah, Tyra Banks petitioned hard for this movie, and strangely didn't get the role. I don't know why.
I was not rooting for her.
Oh dear. Alicia Keys would have been an interesting choice, I feel like, but I understand why they went with Anika Noni Rose. She has more of a sweet tone to her voice, which I think serves this character a little bit better.
I'm no critic, but I am a critic. I think Anika tends to be a little bit more forward, whereas Alicia Keys, to me, feels a little bit more like laid back and kind of like chill. You know what I'm saying? I want my character to be like on her tiptoes, reaching for that dream.
That's a great way to explain it.
I know.
Fair.
All right. So Tiana's supervising animator was Mark Henn. And how do we know that name? And what other characters has Mark Henn animated? Let me tell you, Ariel, Belle, and Jasmine. So obviously they're going to be like, hey, Mark, we need you to take the lead in this film. And like Anika Noni Rose, Jasmine is left-handed. And Anika asked the animators and the directors if Tiana could be left-handed like her. And also, I mean, when you look at Tiana and Anika Noni Rose next to each other, their faces, probably more than any other Disney female character, like the source material, Patrick, that's what I'm trying to say. That is Anika Noni Rose's face.
Yeah, she has a very specific smile that lights up a room, and Tiana has the same smile with those two like little dimples right on the sides of her chin. It's beautiful. I love the animation of Tiana.
Yeah, less inspired by Anika and more just like a copy of her face.
Full on Anika.
Full on Anika for sure. All right, let's move on to Prince Naveen, Bruno Campos, who appeared on the series Nip Tuck. And I know him, Patrick, from the TV series Jessie, starring Christina Applegate. That's where I absolutely fell in love with him.
Oh, 100%. That's exactly how I know him. He was and is a beautiful, beautiful man who needs to be shirtless all of the time.
Oh, my.
Mm-hmm. I said it.
He is Brazilian, Patrick. Did you know that? He grew up in Brazil.
Oh, yes, I absolutely knew that. He is very Brazilian. Brazilian men are beautiful.
So beautiful. Prince Naveen is from Maldonia, a fictional country.
It's true. I took pause for a brief second about the casting of Bruno Campos, but now that I think about it more, it actually makes sense because we don't really know where Maldonia is. It's a fictional country. However, we do know that Naveen does mean new in Indian, so it's possible that it's sort of an Indian kind of a country. But the fact that his voice is Brazilian, but he's using sort of a French or Creole accent sort of mixes it all together, so you don't really need to know where he's from, which kind of works.
Absolutely works. Naveen is sexy. Yeah, I said it. He's not a real person. He's a cartoon character, but I think he's sexy.
Listen, those high-waisted tight pants are beautiful on this fictional character.
You know, watching it this go around, I got a real like Prince Eric with melanin vibe from him.
Ooh, yes.
He does have those kind of Prince Eric features in his face.
Yeah, he's animated very well. Very, very well. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, the supervising animator on Naveen was Randy Haycock, and Randy animated Clayton in Tarzan and Jim Hawkins in Treasure Planet. So he's an animator who animates dudes, you know?
Haycock indeed.
Haycock indeed.
We're disgusting.
The podcast is called Gays Do the D, people. I don't know what you want from us.
Yeah, get over yourselves. Well, let's move on, Adam, to one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite villains, Dr. Facilier, voiced by the amazing Keith David, who is not a Disney legend. Why on earth? I don't know.
Shocking to have this character who is so celebrated by villain files. No, I'll work on it. That's not the phrase I want. But yes, he is celebrated by people who love villains. To have Keith David off the Disney Legends list is not acceptable.
Well, not only did he voice Dr. Facilier in The Princess and the Frog for Disney, he also lent his voice to Hercules, and many of our Tweedles will know his voice as Goliath from the Gargoyles series.
Love the Gargoyles. So dark, so adult for kids.
Yeah, and that voice is so distinct. He's so good in it. He's one of the better voice actors around, I would say.
Absolutely. And everyone will remember him from season 1 of Grey's Anatomy. He hit on George.
He did indeed. And many of our adult Tweedles may remember his creepy character in Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream, The Thing. He's voiced characters on Adventure Time. His voice, I mean, we keep on talking about his voice. How many documentaries has this guy narrated?
Well, in fact, he won 3 Emmy Awards for his voice work on documentaries such as The Jackie Robinson Story.
Again, I just wish I had his voice, but I don't.
You don't, but I feel like we could make a Little Mermaid situation happen.
Oh, Dr. Facilier's supervising animator was Bruce Smith, who also animated Kerchak in Tarzan and Pasha in The Emperor's New Groove. I know we touched on this, Patrick, already, but Dr. Facilier is so iconic and so interesting a villain because he himself does not have any magical powers. He relies on his friends on the other side to kind of deliver the magic to him or the abilities to him. But he's really just like a voodoo doctor who is looking to like get money.
Yeah, what makes this character sort of creepy, the creep factor for Dr. Facilier, I will say, is sort of the desperation behind him. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a bad guy out of desperation.
Yeah, he's like an addict looking for a fix because he needs help from these otherworldly beings, and he's very, very desperate.
Yeah, which sort of almost grounds him a little bit and makes you sort of want to know his story more so.
And I think more than any other film, we are introduced to him in such a strange way in that we see him several times before we actually get his backstory, as opposed to like him being presented first thing with a song or something like that. He actually appears several times in the film as a very shadowy, mysterious figure.
Yeah, he sort of, pun intended, foreshadows himself. You know what I mean?
He's the foreshadow man.
I like it.
Moving on, we have Michael Leon Woolley, who voices Lewis. Michael Leon Woolley very recently appeared in the Netflix series AJ and the Queen. He also appeared in, yeah, you guessed it, Dreamgirls.
It's true. He played Tiny Joe Dixon.
Tiny Joe Dixon, huh?
Well, you know, it's not an accurate name.
There's all shapes and sizes.
Beautiful shapes and beautiful sizes.
I love Michael Leon Woolley's performance as Lewis. Lewis, I think, is my favorite character in the entire film.
He's a great character. So funny. A little feminine, you might say, which I love.
Yeah, there is an effeminate side to him, very artistic, and also there's this desire in him to be human. In fact, this character probably has the biggest change of any character in the film. Well, I shouldn't say in the film. I guess I should say had the biggest change from development to the final product of the film, because originally he was going to be a person who had been turned into an alligator by Dr. Facilier and was trying to get back to being a human again.
That's right. And I like that they didn't go with that story. I like the current storyline. I can't imagine it being different.
Yeah, the writers were just like, this is too much to explain. It's better if they just come across him in the swamp. And he just has a desire to be a human because he wants to play jazz.
He wants to play that trumpet. And we should say his character, or his name at least, and his trumpet playing is inspired by Louis Armstrong.
That's right.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Michael Leon Woolley voiced Audrey 2 in the 2003 revival of Little Shop of Horrors on Broadway. And boy, oh boy, did he do an outstanding job.
I wonder if he's going to be voicing Audrey in the movie.
Big mistake if they didn't cast him. Big mistake. Huge.
And Patrick, I think this is a great point for us to bring up the fact that the directors hired a choreographer for this film to create movement for all of these characters. You know, we often talk in the podcast about how there are human references for characters that the animators can go back to, references on film for them to draw from. And I think more than any other character, you can see that in Lewis, like his movement, because he's so big, he's this giant alligator, and yet he's so light on his feet and nimble. I think that really comes into play in his character more than anyone else.
Yes, I need a Lewis meet and greet in the parks.
Yes.
Adam agrees fully. Thank you for that. Or at least like an appearance. He should be playing the trumpet on the Mark Twain riverboat.
He should absolutely be doing that. And Patrick, I was going to bring this up later, but if they actually had a Tiana's Palace restaurant you could go to, how hot would it be at night if there was an actual live show you could see and there was like a Lewis animatronic up there blowing on the horn and they had like a live actress come out as Tiana and an actor come out as Naveen? It would be phenomenal. It would blow Be Our Guest out of the water.
Yas Queen. Yas Queen. If it were sort of a Tiana's Place after our speakeasy situation.
Yes. What if there was a restaurant upstairs and then like a kind of like a hidden speakeasy, not so hidden, but you know what I mean? Like a hidden speakeasy underneath the restaurant.
I like it. And the code word is Walt sent me.
Walt sent me. Yeah.
It's a little Roger Rabbit reference for your nerves.
Well, Roger Rabbit and The Princess and the Frog are so similar.
The same really.
Lewis's supervising animator was Eric Goldberg, and Eric actually won the Annie Award for character animation in a feature production, not only for his animations of Lewis, but also he did several other smaller characters within the film. So he won because of his work in The Princess and the Frog.
Well deserved. Well, let's move on, Adam, to a fan favorite character, shall we? I'm talking about Charlotte, a.k.a. Lottie LaBeouf, voiced by Jennifer Cody.
You know her, you love her, maybe not Jennifer, but you definitely know Charlotte.
Such a great character. Again, voiced by another amazing Broadway actor. She was in Cats, Grease, Beauty and the Beast, Seussical, Urinetown, Taboo, The Pajama Game, and Shrek the Musical, both on Broadway and in the filmed version.
She also voiced Darcy in the English dub of Winx Club, which is an animated series I'm not familiar with, but I know a lot of people out there are.
True story. She also lent her voice to Robot and Monster, Gravity Falls, American Dad, and The Battery's Down.
I wonder how they found her, or how they decided for it to be her, because she truly is a standout in this film. Like, it's one of those instances where they hire someone for voice acting and you can hear how hungry they are to, like, I don't know, nail this role, and they totally pull it off. And that makes it just like a great moment in this animated film.
I'm frankly surprised that Disney hasn't used her over and over again, because she is such a chameleon with her voice, and it's such a great voice as well.
Exactly. And she's so talented that she actually won the Annie Award for voice acting in a feature production for her performance in The Princess and the Frog.
Again, well-deserved. She came to work on this movie.
She did. And such a great pairing of character and voice. Like, it is so believable. You know who this woman is. You feel her desires. You know how silly she is, but you also know how passionate she is. What a great kind of foil for Tiana, because whereas Tiana's so focused on work and kind of achieving her dreams, Charlotte is also focused on achieving her dreams. It's just a very different, almost more traditional style of a Disney dream, getting her prince, getting her man.
Getting her mans. And we all know that Tiana is getting her own TV show on Disney Plus, and I imagine that Charlotte will play a huge role in that show.
Oh my gosh, please.
I want to see the misadventures of Tiana and Charlotte.
Please, what a buddy comedy.
Oh, man. I might want a live-action version of that, actually.
I'll take it any way I can get it. Nick Ranieri served as the supervising animator for Charlotte as an adult and as a child, and he previously served as the supervising animator for characters like Lumiere, Miko, Hades, and Kuzco.
Love it. Love it. So well done. I loved her animation, actually. It was a little bit different than the rest of the characters. She's very, I don't know, I guess, animated. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Patrick. She is a little bit more heightened, a little bigger, a little more broad, a little curvier.
Yeah, she kind of plays the dum-dum in the movie.
I love her. I just love her.
Love her. Love her. Speaking of love, Adam, we have to talk about Ray, and I could talk about Ray forever. He's one of those characters that I forgot how much I love, and I want more of him.
He is essential to this story. Like, you know, you mentioned characters like Lewis, who I love, and Charlotte, and they all play their roles in the film. But really, Tiana and Naveen would not get together if it wasn't for Ray.
Voiced by the amazing Jim Cummings. Again, not a Disney legend.
Shut your mouth hole.
I will not. I can't because I'm talking right now. Jim Cummings has an interesting background. I don't know if you read up on this, but when he was pretty young, he moved to New Orleans, where he was a Mardi Gras float designer, a singer, an actor, and a door-to-door salesman, and, Adam, a riverboat deckhand.
If there was anyone who should be voicing a character in this film, it's Jim Cummings.
Yes, they specifically cast him because of his New Orleans background.
And I'm assuming that informed his Creole kind of character sound as well.
125%. Many of our Tweedles will recognize him as the voice of Pete in Mickey and the Roadster Racers and The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse.
He also voices Tigger, Winnie the Pooh, Hondo Anaka in the Star Wars galaxy. Jim Cummings apparently can do it all.
He can do it all. And his credits date all the way back. I should say his 564 IMDb credits date all the way back to Dumbo's Flying Circus in the 1980s.
564 IMDb credits.
That's correct. That's how the song goes for sure. Again, Adam, the fact that he's not a Disney legend is shocking to me.
It is shocking. And, you know, his contributions to the company have been vast with all the characters we've already named. But even if he just did Ray, even if it was just Ray, he could be a Disney legend with that performance alone. The supervising animator was Mike Surrey, who also animated Timon in The Lion King, Clopin in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Turk in Tarzan, and Rourke in Atlantis.
What a beautiful and heartbreaking and hilarious character all at the same time. His emotional journey is so fun to watch, so interesting to watch. It could be its own movie, really.
Yeah, he's one of those characters that's a complete innocent, and your heart just breaks for him, not only for what he doesn't know, but also for his ultimate end in the film. I mean, hello, he dies in a Disney animated film.
At the end of it, not the beginning, like a parent.
Yeah, bold choice, Disney.
Bold choice. I'll say I watched this movie again last night. I watched it a couple of times this past week because I love it so much. And boy, did I cry every single viewing.
He, just like Tiana, just like Charlotte, is also a dreamer, has that dream of reaching his Evangeline someday, and it's just so, so touching how passionate he is for something he wants so desperately but has never experienced.
There's this wonderful moment right before he passes that he looks at Lewis and smiles as though he knows what's happening. And it is so heartbreaking. It's such a beautiful moment. It's sort of like printed on my mind now, that little smile that he gives.
And the film dedicates a significant amount of time to this character, not only in his love story, but also in his death. Like, I did not remember how much time the film took, not only with like his actual passing, but then there is a funeral for this character in the film.
Yeah, there's like a straight up Viking funeral for him.
And I remember the first time seeing this movie, not knowing that he would eventually reach Evangeline and, you know, there would be that kind of reunion or coming together for those characters, but not knowing that that was going to happen, your heart just like broke. You were like, that's the end for Ray?
Yeah, I almost wonder if they discovered how well loved this character would be as they were creating the movie, because they gave him such a closure moment, which a lot of Disney characters don't get who aren't the main character.
Also, he has 2 songs.
He has 2 amazing songs.
Jim Cummings, let's grab a drink when you're in Minneapolis, or I don't know, we'll find you. We'll find you, but we want to thank you for your performance as Ray.
We will find you.
It's not a threat, I promise.
Well, a little bit.
Little bit of a threat, yeah. Let's touch briefly on Peter Bartlett, who voices Lawrence. Lawrence is Naveen's long kind of put upon valet, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Is it valet or valet?
Valet?
Who can say? I think it depends on where you live.
I like saying valet more because I feel more Downton Abbey.
I was just going to say it's very Downton Abbey. Maybe that's where I got it from.
Valet it is. Peter Bartlett played Nigel Bartholomew Smythe on One Life to Live for all of the years. Like, just so many years did he play that character. He also appears in the Producers movie, the Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick version.
Yes, he was the gay costume designer.
The gay costume designer. And I got to say, that kind of level of gayness transfers to Lawrence in The Princess and the Frog.
It does indeed. And here again, Adam, we have a huge Broadway actor in Peter Bartlett. He was in She Loves Me on Broadway, Something Rotten, Cinderella, The Drowsy Chaperone, Beauty and the Beast again, and Boom Boom Room, just to name a few.
Disney knows, Patrick. Disney knows what it's doing when they want to create a magical animated musical. Go to the Broadway performers. I mean, we learned this all the way back in The Little Mermaid, and then we really learned it in Beauty and the Beast, how effective it is when you have those kind of performers that can really communicate a song.
I mean, it just makes sense. It's so needed and well placed in this movie, all of these prolific Broadway actors.
I really like Lawrence. He brings a touch of comedy to the film, but what I forgot completely was that he's really the secondary villain of the film.
For sure. He's almost an accidental villain who discovers that he's a villain in the movie, right? He didn't start out necessarily as a bad guy, but he immediately turned into one when presented the option.
Yeah, seduced by Dr. Facilier.
And it wasn't a hard seduction, right? I mean, he pretty much was like, yeah, that's what I want.
My life sucks. I'm serving this playboy of a prince, and I'm talking about us on this podcast. But it also applies to Lawrence.
For sure.
Lawrence's supervising animator, again, was Randy Haycock.
Hey.
Haycock. So Lawrence, a very interesting character in this whole ordeal.
Again, a different animation style to Lawrence, much like Charlotte's character, where it's a little bit more whimsical and overdone in a great way.
And Randy Haycock wanted to make him rat-like, and you can see that. Like, he does have kind of very ratty features, big ears, kind of pinched nose and mouth.
He very much resembles, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the bad guy henchman in Enchanted.
Absolutely. I believe he also appears in some of the Harry Potter movies.
Yes.
It's totally that guy. I wonder if he was a reference for them.
Possibly. He looks very familiar for sure.
How offensive. You look like a rat. We're going to use you as a reference.
Listen, he's laughing all the way to the bank.
What a life.
Speaking of what a life, we have to now take 8 days to talk about Mama Odie, Jennifer Lewis.
We do have to talk about Shangela's landlord.
Indeed. Fun fact, Adam, speaking of Broadway actors, Jennifer Lewis was cast as Effie White in the Workshop production of Dreamgirls before it went to Broadway, when she was then replaced by another Jennifer Holliday.
It's got a sting.
She feels it to this day, you can tell.
Although, when you look at their work now, who's working more?
Fair enough. Jennifer Lewis wins.
Where else can we see Jennifer Lewis, Patrick?
Well, a lot of our tweedles will recognize her from Sister Act. She was one of the backup singers for Whoopi Goldberg. She was also in the movie Beaches, What's Love Got to Do with It, the TV show A Different World, Poetic Justice, Sister Act 2, Renaissance Man, Corina, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Preacher's Wife, Mystery Men, The Brothers, Strong Medicine. The list goes on. And of course, for Disney, she lent her voice to Cars 3, Elena of Avalor, and Big Hero 6, the series. And of course, she is on the delightful TV show Blackish.
She is. Side note, Big Hero 6 is going to be ending with its third season.
I know. I'm disappointed in that. It's a great cartoon. And again, Adam, Jennifer Lewis, not a Disney legend.
That is really criminal.
I was just going to say, it's offensive and criminal.
The work she's done. I mean, you've mentioned Cars, Big Hero 6, The Princess and the Frog. Like, give her the legend, people.
I wonder if she will be in the Tiana TV series. You would hope.
Patrick, every one of these characters where it's like feasible for them to return, I'm just like, please come back. Maybe not for every episode, but maybe Mama Odie just makes like these kind of small appearances throughout the series.
Pop-up appearances, just like Santa.
The supervising animator for Mama Odie was Andreas Deja. Patrick, you know Andreas Deja.
We go way back.
Andreas Deja is a Disney legend and was one of the subjects we covered in our last On the DL. As I said, he was the supervising animator for both Mama Odie and her pet snake, Juju, and was nominated for an Annie Award for character animation in a feature production for his work in The Princess and the Frog. And we know his previous work. He's known as like an absolute god when it comes to animating villains. I'm talking Gaston. I'm talking Jafar. I'm talking Scar.
Yeah, as we mentioned on the DL episode, his preference is to animate villains, but I imagine he was drawn to Mama Odie because she's also a voodoo priestess, right? Which can be seen as a villain, but she is not in this movie. She's sort of the equal and opposite of Dr. Facilier.
Yeah, she's like the fairy godmother role in this film.
There you go.
And she was based on two people's not the right word. One of them is a person, Moms Mabley. And Patrick, Mama Odie was also based on Yoda.
I love that reference, that teeny tiny green reference.
Teeny tiny, yet so powerful. I mean, what can we say about Mama Odie? She's an absolute joy. And just knowing Jennifer Lewis as a person, you would never guess that she voiced Mama Odie because Jennifer Lewis just seems to me very poised, very confident, very self-assured, and less comedic, I would say, whereas Mama Odie is like this kind of comedic, lovable little voodoo doctor.
She's goofy almost, in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And a large part of that comes from physical comedy, right? She is blind, and there's a lot of moments in the film where she's pointing in the wrong direction or, you know, kind of making missteps along the way. And it's just so charming and so lovable.
She's sort of the lovable opposite of Mad Madam Mim.
Exactly that. Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, Patrick, personally, that's the life I want. You know, when I get to be a certain age, I just want to be left alone in a swamp with my snake.
Casting some spells with your snake. On your snake, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? Who can say?
Not a euphemism.
All right. Well, we've talked about Jennifer Lewis, not a Disney legend. So let's talk about an actual Disney legend. And I don't know how deep we need to go into this person because it's Oprah. And she voices Eudora, who is Tiana's mother in the film. And I mean, it's Oprah. What do you want to say, Patrick? Mogul, media mogul, Oprah Winfrey.
Media mogul, tycoon, queen of the world. Everyone knows her. Everyone loves her. Well, not everyone loves her. She's a little bit controversial, I think, but she is one of my heroes for sure.
Weight Watchers spokesperson.
I mean,
that's when you know you've made it.
Enough said. Yeah, enough said. She loves bread.
Who doesn't?
I do now because of Oprah. Thank you, Oprah.
She's so relatable. She loves bread. One thing I would like to say about her performance, though, is that if I didn't know that was Oprah Winfrey, I wouldn't have guessed that was Oprah Winfrey. And I don't know if that's because, like, on her talk show, she has to be more of a presenter. And I just think of those moments where, like, Julia Roberts, like things like that. You know, in this movie, she's much, much, much more understated.
Yeah, she's very soft-spoken in this movie, where kind of like Jennifer Lewis, she in real life has a bit more of a bold, stern-sounding voice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she's definitely in charge. Like, she is a boss.
She's a boss B. She's a boss D, even.
Yeah, but exactly as you said, Patrick, Jennifer Lewis, modified her voice to create this really eccentric old woman. And Oprah Winfrey, I feel like, just really pulled back and went very simple and soft for Eudora.
Yeah, I don't, as a rule, love Oprah as an actor. Come at me if you want to, but she did a lovely job with this character. It's not a huge character in the movie, but she did what she needed to do for Eudora.
I'm in that same camp with you. I don't love her as an actress either, Patrick, but I mean, who cares? She's frickin' Oprah.
Who cares, indeed. Who I do love as an actor, however, is Terrence Howard, who plays Tiana's father, James.
And again, I was watching some interviews with him this morning, and there's an affectation there that's not Terrence Howard's voice. Like, he almost is deeper and kind of more comforting when he voices James.
Yeah, it's funny to think that Terrence Howard voices James, who is such a loving father character, and then he plays the father in Empire, who is not a loving father character.
That is quite the span of personality there. And also, we need to recognize how important James is to the story, because he and Tiana share the same dream, which is inspired by James's dream to really bring people together with food. It's not so much about having a really super successful restaurant, although he does want that, but it's about kind of creating the society that comes together to enjoy his food and enjoy each other's company.
Right. It's using food as a catalyst for community building.
And he originally was not going to be a character in the film, but they realized they needed something to really push Tiana and tie this kind of more emotional element to it. And that was bringing in James and having that kind of be a memory for her to kind of drive her forward.
It was a really lovely through line. Terrence Howard, we should go through his credits a little bit. He was in Mr. Holland's Opus. Do you remember that movie? I loved that movie.
Beautiful Cole.
Oh, so good. He was also in The Best Man, Glitter, Crash, Ray, Hustle and Flow, Four Brothers, Iron Man, Ghost of New Orleans, Law and Order, and, of course, as I mentioned, the TV show Empire.
Oscar nominated for Hustle and Flow.
Oscar nominated. He is a wonderful actor. He's a little bit of an interesting person in real life. I've heard some stories. We don't need to go into it, but he's a great actor, I think.
Might have an attitude.
He might have a little bit of an attitude, but you know what? Well deserved. Well deserved.
You just keep on keeping on, Terrence Howard. We love your performances, James.
That's right. Keep on hustling and flowing.
I love how you circled back to that, Patrick.
Thank you.
And let's wrap up talking about the kind of more major characters in the film by talking about John Goodman, who plays Big Daddy LaBouffe. John Goodman, where do we start? Roseanne? We'll start with Roseanne.
Sure, why ever not? Or now known as the Connors.
That's right. It's modern day replacement, the Connors, minus Roseanne.
Thank goodness.
He was also in The Big Lebowski. And for Disney, his two big notable roles were in Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University as Sully. And then, of course, he was also Pasha in The Emperor's New Groove.
And in Kronk's New Groove and The Emperor's New School.
John Goodman, he never stops working.
Never stops working. He was also Sullivan Truck in Cars.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even have that in my notes.
The list goes on a little bit longer, Adam. He also voiced Baloo in The Jungle Book Part 2.
Who am I? Unprepared.
Show up for work once in a while, Adam. And again, John Goodman, not a Disney legend.
Okay, Disney, it's just embarrassing for you at this point.
It's weird, right? I don't understand how all of these amazing, prolific Disney actors are not on the legends list.
There are legends who have done one thing for Disney, and these are people who work with Disney over and over and over again.
Not that she doesn't deserve it because this character is so iconic and important in history, but Anika Noni Rose kind of only did Tiana for Disney, and she is a Disney legend, well-deserved Disney legend, but there are so many more people on this cast list that have worked almost their entire lives for Disney.
You know, she doesn't get her Disney legend statue until she completes the Tiana series.
I don't think that's true, but how hilarious.
They're holding it over her. They're like, not until you finish this series for us, Anika. So Big Daddy LaBouffe, I don't know how much we want to talk about him, but he is essentially the king of our kingdom in this fairy tale, right? And is a very kind of bombastic, colorful, very much drawn, to use a pun, from like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, right?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the name Big Daddy is the character in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And interestingly, that was written by Tennessee Williams. And the dog's name is Stella, another character from Tennessee Williams.
That's right. There's that great moment when he shouts Stella at the party. So funny.
So funny. Blink and you'll miss it. And it's an interesting reference, but I guess Tennessee Williams did live a lot of his life in New Orleans, so maybe that's why that's in the movie.
And they just know a bunch of gay dudes are watching this animated film and they're like, we see you.
Yas, Tennessee Williams.
That's what I screamed when I heard that.
Yeah, that's how gay we are, for sure.
So those are kind of the main characters in the film, Patrick, but there are some kind of surprising little cameos in the movie.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh, do you? Do you want to spill the tea and reveal one of the cameos?
Sure, why not? In the very first moments of the film, in fact, the magic carpet from Aladdin makes a pop-up appearance, doesn't he?
He does, although I wasn't talking about that, but that's a great one.
Oh, which ones were you talking about?
I was talking about some of the voice actors.
Oh, see, I was talking about the cameo Disney characters who appear throughout the film.
Well, let's keep talking about those since we're on that bench then, because Mama Odie throws the magic lamp, the genie's lamp at one point.
She sure does. She sure does. I believe Merida from Brave is one of the dolls on Charlotte's doll shelf.
King Triton and Jafar are the themes for the Mardi Gras floats in the parade.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. There's quite a few Little Mermaid references actually throughout the film, which is interesting. And of course, because we have two directors who directed The Little Mermaid directing this film, it makes sense that they would intertwine those characters.
That, and I think they wanted to reference these moments, characters, because this was a film that was a return to form for Disney, right? So I think they were kind of like, putting in these kind of blink and you'll miss it moments where it's like, remember this, remember this. These all tie into a part of this bigger picture, this Disney princess universe.
Yeah, it's sort of paying homage and respect to the princess style that Disney is known for.
You got to pay respect.
Pay respects to those leading ladies.
So some of the characters I was talking about are voiced by some very interesting people. So, for instance, when Naveen and Tiana, as frogs, first kind of come splashing down into the swamp, they are encircled by some gators. And one of the gators, named Ian, is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who a lot of people will know as the voice of Cleveland Brown Jr. on The Cleveland Show. He's also voiced characters on The Simpsons. He voices the hilarious character Principal Lewis on American Dad. He's done some work for The Lion Guard. He also voices Lord Feldrake Sheldgoose in The Legend of the Three Caballeros and Sir Oliver on Sophia the First. So Kevin Michael Richardson, kind of a cameo. And the other gator, Marlon the Gator, is voiced by celebrity chef Emeril Lagasse.
That's right. I remember reading about that, and I was like, what? Why on earth? Why on earth? But I guess, he is a Southern Creole-style chef, right?
Yeah, and I'm just so grateful they didn't have him say bam.
Well, you just did, so you've ruined it.
I ruined it for everybody. And then the last kind of little cameo is the composer for the film, Randy Newman, makes an appearance as Cousin Randy, one of the lightning bugs that Ray talks to during his song.
I love the lightning bug family.
Oh my gosh, the grandma.
So funny. So funny.
She claps on to light her little booty.
She needs her own Disney short.
She does. She does need her own Disney short.
So we've talked ad nauseum about the amazing cast, Adam. Let's just sort of dip our toes into the bayou, if you will, of our overall thoughts on the movie, seeing it another time.
Let's do that. Yeah, I really love this movie. I am a fan of more traditional animation, so I was excited when this movie came out, but even more so, I've grown to love it, I think, the more I watch it, just because there are so many quick little jokes and really touching moments in this film that could be missed if you aren't necessarily paying attention to the film. And I love the film's kind of overarching message of working for your dream, but also taking time to really enjoy the little moments in life and not letting those pass you by.
Well said, well said. I, too, am a huge fan of traditional animation. I have great respect for CGI and digital animation and all the Pixar movies, but there's something about a Disney hand-drawn animated movie that just really feels familiar and home to me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does harken back, but also seems like a giant advancement forward in what can be done. Like, what the studio has learned from making all those wonderful films that they've made for us. But also, these animators want to test new waters and explore new ways to kind of approach this art form. And that's really on display in The Princess and the Frog.
Exactly. I know it sounds cliche, but you can really just see this work of art coming to life on screen when you have hand-drawn animation. The one thing that I do bump on for this movie, though, and I think some of our tweetles will know where I'm coming from, is that historically, yes, applause are needed for having our first Black princess, but there's something to be said for the fact that she spends 3/4 at least of the movie not in her body and as a frog, and so we don't really get enough of seeing this Black princess be a Black princess on screen, if that makes sense.
That totally makes sense, Patrick. And you know where I stand, at least I think you do, as far as like anthropomorphic animals go. Like, it's not my go-to genre for a Disney film. And I will say that when those moments happen, when she is a frog, when Naveen's a frog, it's not as interesting to me, even though some of the characters are incredibly interesting. Like Lewis is just like a great, great character. Frog Tiana and Frog Naveen are not as interesting to me as human Tiana and human Naveen. So I'm very excited that we're going to get to see more of their story in the series going forward. But I think you're right. I think something gets lost, maybe not in the same way you're talking about, but for me anyway, I do tend to get a little less interested in the story when they're frogs, which I know is a large portion of the movie, but it's just not as driving for me.
Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, I mean, it's The Princess and the Frog, so they have to be these characters. But I almost wish that they had reserved the honor of being Disney's first Black princess for a story that she actually gets to be in her human form the entire movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. And kind of going back to the swampiness of it all, Patrick, I think the story could have used just a bit of a tightening up. Like, for instance, I don't need the frog hunter scene at all in this movie. It kind of slows it down for me.
It didn't really add anything at all to the film. I guess they maybe just needed a little bit more action or something, and so they threw it in there. But it didn't help the story. It wasn't that funny. It was fine, but I agree. I didn't need it in the movie.
If they could have found a clever way to bring them back at the end in some way, like they ended up helping the frogs or I don't know, whatever. But it was just like this moment where you're like, we're too far along in this story to introduce a new character that I'm supposed to like laugh at, or it just was unnecessary to me.
Yeah, it was super random. I wonder why it didn't hit the cutting room floor, but here we are. I also bumped a little bit on Tiana's end story, if that makes sense. I feel like they almost told her like, no, your dream isn't to be a businesswoman. It's to fall in love with a man. You know what I mean? Like it just sort of felt like, wait, why can't she have a dream of being a businesswoman? I don't understand why that's a bad thing.
Well, I didn't see it exactly that way. I think that for me anyway, the message came down to that to live a full life, a whole life, is to find someone to share it with and to share your dreams with. And so that ended up being Naveen.
Fair. Yeah, I totally understand that. But I guess I think I bump on that as well. Like, why can't you be a single, successful, strong woman? Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to have a man in your life to be happy. And so it almost felt like that was the story for her, is that, yeah, you can have your dream, but you need to share it with a man as well. Otherwise, it's not a fully realized dream, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. Would you have preferred she fell in love with Charlotte?
I would have 100% if they had found each other in the end and been like, oh, you're my dream. I like that. I like that better.
And then they just took Naveen in frog form and cooked him up to serve to their guests.
Perfection. Or if he and Lewis fell in love.
Who's the top and who's the bottom?
I think they figure it out amongst themselves. It's a real switcheroo situation.
Their swamp verse.
Listen, he knows how to blow that horn. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
But beyond those two elements, I do really love this movie. I forget how much I love it until I'm watching it again, and I realize just how Disney it is. It's a perfect Disney movie for me.
And fortunately, as we've talked about, we have some great things to look forward to coming up. We have the Tiana series coming to Disney Plus. And of course, we have the Splash Mountain retheme, which I'm just so excited for. Watching this movie, you're like, what elements are they going to pull? What are we going to see in the ride? What songs are we going to hear? It's just going to be a great overhaul to that attraction.
Oh, 100% we're going to get a beautiful sort of reveal of all the lightning bugs lighting up the bayou. That's absolutely going to happen, and it gives me the shivers to think about it.
I thought about that when you reach that very bottom portion before you begin the climb. I wonder if it's all going to be fireflies.
I hope so. I mean, they're going to be idiots if they don't do that. So Disney, don't be an idiot, you know?
Give us a call. We have thoughts.
We have some thoughts. And I imagine our Tweedledees have some thoughts on this film as well.
Yes, and we'd love to hear them. If you don't know how you can reach us at this point, you're fools, but I'll explain it one more time. You can reach out to us on social media, that's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, at GDTD Podcast.
Or say it with me, folks, you can always leave us a voice memo or an email at info@gazetothed.com. Should we just close out by talking about Prince Naveen some more? I mean,
we should. So you, like me, are very into the more like high-waisted pant look and the sweater and the little like newsy cap.
Oh, yeah, give me a newsy any day, and it'll be a good day, you know?
You'd like to seize Prince Naveen's day.
I wanna get Froggy style with him, for sure.
What exactly is Froggy style?
It's a lot of legs. A lot of legs are involved, you know, a lot of hopping.
Yeah, you really got to be into thighs and calves.
And a good tongue. You know what I'm saying?
It's so long.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Adam.
Can I have a reference?
That's a little Gwen Stefani for you.
I was going to say, is that Gwen Stefani?
It is. It is indeed. Holla back at me, Adam.
Holla!
Oh, dear. Hey, Adam. Let's get back into it.
Hey, Patrick.
It is time. The time has come. We've gotten through the bayou of the Princess and the Frog, and we have arrived at Mama Odie's Quick D.
Ooh, I love a Mama Odie themed Quick D.
It's visually impaired, and it's full of snakes.
Enjoy. Snakes enjoy.
Enjoy at your own risk. Adam, do you think there are Tweedles at home who do not know what Quick D is?
I hope so. You know what? I do hope so, because that means we'd have a new listener.
That is such a great point. Listener, Quick D is generally where Adam and I ask each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording, and we answer off the cuff. But we have some new Quick D segments integrated, woven throughout Gaze Do the D history. Adam, what Quick D are we doing today?
Gaze Do the D history.
We're historical.
Well, this week, Patrick, we actually have a listener submitted. It's not a question. It's more of a scenario.
I love doing scene work.
Yes, both Patrick and I are classically trained.
No, not at all.
Trevor wrote in with this Quick D suggestion. You can find Trevor on Instagram at Trevor Rolig. Trevor says, okay, fellas, here's my idea for a Quick D segment. You put a bunch of Disney characters' names into a mug and draw two at random. Then you workshop what you think would happen on their blind date. Just imagine the possibilities.
Oh, this is going to go south real quick.
Or is it going to give people some incredible role-playing ideas for Valentine's Day?
Who doesn't love a good role play, you know?
Two Disney characters coming together. What could happen?
So many options.
Well, first of all, Trevor, this idea is fantastic. Second of all, I want to say I'm not going to put the names into a mug because it's 2021 and I put them into my computer.
Which is named Mug.
If a computer is anything, it's just a futuristic mug.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Full of delicious beverages.
Beverages and internets.
Drink that internet.
So tasty. So what I've done is I put a bunch of Disney character names, so many of them, into my computer, and two are going to be drawn at random. This is actually the same way we draw names for our giveaway winners.
It is. Absolutely, it is. A randomizer.
A randomizer. So Patrick, do you want to find out which character you're going to be playing in this scenario?
Not really, but let's do it.
Patrick is very, very timid towards this idea.
I just want to apologize in advance. That's all I'll say.
Patrick, You're going to be portraying Hey Hey from Moana.
Oh, good. Oh, good. That makes sense.
Now, we know this character does not talk, but I think just assume, what would Hey Hey sound like? What would Hey Hey talk about?
Oh, I know. I have some ideas floating around.
And I'm going to be portraying Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
I mean, these two are meant to be.
They were destined to come together, and it's finally happening on Gaze Do the D.
Finally, it's happened to us.
All right, Patrick, let's set the scene. It's a small Italian restaurant.
It's very Lady and the Tramp.
Very Lady and the Tramp, although we dine indoors. And this is our blind date.
Off to a great start. Okay. Curtain up. Hey. Hey, is my name.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Hey. Hey.
Your name is Hey Hey?
Hey, it is. Hey.
Hey Hey, I'm a sea witch, Ursula. We've been talking on Christian Mingle.
Is that a tentacle on my thigh, or what's going on over here? Are we having you for dinner?
So rude that you would bring that up. This is not a seafood restaurant. It actually is an Italian restaurant, although I suppose calamari could be on the menu, and I'm disgusted.
Hey, I noticed you only have 6 tentacles. Not an octopus?
Yeah, well, I noticed that one of your pupils goes in the exact opposite direction. Do we really want to have this conversation right now?
Hey. This is the worst idea we've ever done.
Or the best. Stay in character.
Hey. Don't tell me what to do.
I think we've gotten off on the wrong tentacle. Let's start again. My name is Ursula. I love caverns, and I have 2 pet eels, and I have an extensive lip collection that you can purchase online.
Hey, did you say lip collection? You collect lips?
Lipsticks. I sell lipsticks.
Fantastic. I have no lips. As you can see, I'm a cock.
Trust me, I noticed that first thing in your profile picture.
Hey, I think it seems clear we're not going to order chicken or seafood, so... So what do we say we get out of this restaurant and bang one out? I mean, that's how my dates usually go.
That will do it for this episode of Gaze Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gazedothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gaze Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gazedothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.